Still getting ready. Hi. Hi, everyone. And wherever you're joining from, I am really glad that you're here to listen, ask questions about today's talk, the topic, which is ceremony, ritual, and mental well-being. So today, I want to talk about something that is deeply human, yet often missing from our modern lives, and that is ceremony. So, not in a way that feels distant or cultural or reserved for certain traditions, but something that is actually available to all of us. So, what is ceremony? You might be wondering. And so I'm going to tell you what I mean by the word ceremony. Ceremony is simply intention, presence, and meaning brought into our everyday experience. It's different between going through life and actually being in relationship with it. And that's really powerful. Okay. A question I often hear is this just another form of routine or habit? And no, not quite. See, a routine is something that we do automatically. So, for example, if you think about when you wake up in the morning, do you put your pant leg on your right leg first or your left leg? See, that's a routine, a habit. Also, maybe the way that you drive to work. You have this certain route that you go. So that is a habit. A ceremony is something that we do consciously. So we're actually taking the time to do our ceremony or ritual. So why this matters for our mental well-being. See, there's a question that often comes up, which is there really a connection between ritual and mental health? And the answer is yes, but not in the way perhaps that we have been taught to think about mental well-being. See, we often look at mental health through the lens of fixing something that is broken. And I really want to correct that, because there is absolutely nothing in you that is broken and that needs fixing. We are not an object. Okay? We're human. So we don't need fixing. But there could be a part of what we're experiencing that is dysfunctional. See, it's disconnected. And this happens when we are disconnected from our feelings and our internal self. Another question that I hear quite often is, why do I feel like something is missing, even when everything looks fine on the outside? And so that feeling is often a lack of meaning, a lack of pause, a lack of connection to self. With this life today, we're often in this constant rush. We go from work and we hurry up home to be with our family or wherever else it is that you're going. And so this constant movement and rush then disconnects us from ourself and the ability to really integrate everything. And so what ceremony does then is that it creates the space for connection. Some people wonder, what if I'm not religious? Can this still work for me? And the answer is absolutely. Absolutely. You do not have to be religious. It's about the experience. It's about allowing yourself to slow down enough to actually feel what's happening within you. You know, I always have a phrase that says there is only one constant in life, and that's you. Because no matter where you go, there you are. So again, it's about the going inward. Another very real question is, what if I don't have time? And the truth is, ceremony doesn't require a whole lot of time. It requires a different relationship with time. And here again, if we are honest with ourselves, you know, so often we keep saying, I don't have time, I don't have time. But in reality, if we notice how much time we waste on small frivolous things, okay. So instead of doing that, if we focus with intention, we really do have the time, because again, it's about ourselves. Something important to consider is what happens when we live without any form of ritual. You know, life can begin to feel repetitive, disconnected, even heavy at times. And when we look at ancient cultures across the world, you know, ceremony was never optional. It was something that was woven directly into life. So if we, so many indigenous tribes, peoples around the world, when you ask that question, I mean, they might look at you as if though, you know, what's wrong? Because the ceremony and the rituals are deeply woven into their life. So the question becomes, is it possible that what we're missing actually isn't another tool, but really a deeper way of relating to life? You know, I've come up with some rituals and ceremonies that perhaps you can incorporate into your daily life. And again, takes only a few minutes, 5 minutes. Okay. And I believe that you have enough time in your busy life for 5 minutes. So, for example, a morning intention ritual. See, what this does is it sets direction for the rest of the day. So when you wake up, before, and I say this again, before checking your phone in the morning, so don't look at social media, your emails. Instead, sit quietly for a moment. Ask yourself, how do I want to move through today? What matters today? Not everything, okay? Just one thing, okay? So set your intention for today. Also, what you can do is place your hand over your heart and also take a few slow breaths. See, because what this does is it shifts you from autopilot to intention. And this also grounds the nervous system before stimulation begins. So when you look at social media, your emails, you're automatically stimulating your nervous system. So don't do that. Okay. Another thing is creating a transitional ritual. So this is something you do between activities. So, between coming home from work and stepping through the front door. And what this does, it prevents emotional buildup from the day. So what you can do is, let's say after work, before entering your home or the next task, again, going to the grocery store, pause for 1 or 2 minutes. Take a few deep breaths and mentally say, I'm closing this part of my day. So you can even sit in your car for a moment. Wash your hands slowly and intentionally. On your drive from work to home, put on some relaxing music or a meditation. See, and why this matters is that it helps your mind complete experiences. It also reduces carrying that stress from, let's say, work into the next moment, coming home. An evening release ritual could be, let's say, instead of carrying that stress to bed, you let go of it instead and not store it. So sit quietly at night. Reflect on what felt heavy or unresolved from the day. What stayed with you emotionally? Then write it down or simply acknowledge it. If you do write it down, let's say in a journal, you don't have to spend an hour or whatever. 5-10 minutes, just jot down the highlights. And then take a breath and say, I don't need to carry this into tomorrow. You may also want to light a candle or dim the lights. And if you did write something down, perhaps burn that piece of paper and just watch it drift up in smoke and release. What this does is it creates emotional processing, and it also improves mental clarity and sleep. Another routine, or I should say ritual or ceremony, could be nature-based. When we are out in nature, Mother Nature is phenomenal. Nature really does reset our inner clock, and it's a way to reconnect and regulate. So some practices could be going outside, whether you go out to the park, in your backyard, or anywhere that is quiet. What's important here is no phone, no distractions. So leave your phone at home or put it on silent. And then just walk slowly or sit. One of the best mindfulness techniques is walking, and notice your steps. Notice how your feet touch the ground. Or better yet, if you can, go barefoot and really feel the earth under your feet. And then you can gently focus on your breath, the sounds around you, the feeling of your body in space. Notice also the wind or the breeze, the sounds of nature, the birds that are singing in the trees. And this will naturally calm your system. It also creates space without effort. Another one is checking in with self, because this builds self-awareness and clarity. Sitting down with a journal or in silence and asking, what did I experience this week? What felt difficult? What do I need right now? Not fixing anything, just noticing. A letting go ritual is create some closure around specific emotions or situations by maybe writing something down and then reading it to yourself, whether out loud or quietly. And then if you don't want to burn it, tear up the paper or discard it intentionally and just say, I am allowing this move, or I should say, I'm allowing this to move through me, not stay within me. And this helps shift those things that are stuck within us, that emotional energy. And the last one that I want to share with you is about our breath and presence. And this is something that you can do anytime during the day. You can even do it for just a minute. Simply pause, take 3 to 5 slow breaths, because then this brings our attention fully into our body. And this really interrupts the stress and it brings you back to the present moment. So everything that I have suggested here doesn't take a whole lot of time. What makes them powerful isn't, how long it takes, whether a minute, 5 minutes. It's the intention that you bring to it. And even a minute of presence can begin to shift how you experience your life. So I leave you with that. So naturally, this brings up another question. What does this look like beyond an idea? What does it feel like to be in an environment where ceremony isn't something you try to fit into life, but something that holds life? And that's what brings me to the second part of today's talk. The Amazon rainforest and Machu Picchu, which is the upcoming journey this May. So a question I'm often asked is, why the Amazon? Because there are still places in the world where ceremony is alive, not recreated, not adapted, but lived. And in the Amazon, you are really, truly surrounded by Mother Nature. The energy there is phenomenal. It's very hard to put into words. I can only say that I have been there, and it definitely pulls me back, which is why this trip, or what I call spiritual journey, in May. So another question that comes up is, what actually happens during these ceremonies there in Peru? What happens is not something that really truly can be explained. It does need to be felt. It becomes a space where people begin to understand themselves in a deeper way. Where things that have been carried sometimes for years can begin to soften and release. Having been in this profession of psychology for 30 plus years, sometimes talk therapy isn't maybe quite enough. And so being in an atmosphere like the Amazon rainforest allows that release. I would like to address perhaps some fear and hesitation that comes up for people. And I want to acknowledge them because it is very important. So many people feel this sounds powerful, but also a little intimidating. And that is real because you are stepping out of your familiarity into the unknown. You know, another question is, do I need to be at a certain point in my life to do this? And absolutely not. I have taken people in, let's say, their 30s, but I have also taken someone who was in their very late 80s, 90 years old. So it crosses all ages. Some people come because they are going through something difficult, others because they feel there is more out there and they want to experience something completely different. So again, they're all valid, all of this. Going back to the role of environment, you might be wondering, why not just do this work at home? And I can tell you that environment matters. When you step into a space like the Amazon, everything slows down. Nature holds you in a different way. It's not like being, and I'll use Phoenix as an example, with the hustle and the bustle, the cars, the traffic, the heat, the smog. You don't have that out there. And this allows something within you to open up. Another question is, how does Machu Picchu fit into this? Machu Picchu is not just a place you visit. It becomes a space of integration, reflection, and grounding. A moment to begin making sense of what you've experienced in the Amazon and beyond. Being there in Machu Picchu is very old. And here again, you can feel that energy when you're there. So another question that's asked is, what happens after? See, this journey doesn't end when you leave. It continues in how you live, how you relate, how you show up in life. When they're in Peru, we do have regular meditations. We talk about the experiences throughout the day in order to integrate all of this. So while in Peru, we have that, but then also once you come back home. Okay, so there is that continued connection. And so maybe the most important question is this: how do I know if this is something I'm meant to explore? If something in you is very curious, drawn, and maybe even slightly open, It's worth listening to. If you feel called, you're welcome to explore this journey further. You know, it's not an escape, but it's a way of coming back to yourself. And I also am open to taking calls, and all you need to do is reach out to me in instant message, um, reach out, social media. I am definitely here, and I would love to speak with you. So, in closing, I thank you for being here, for your presence, your openness to exploring something deeper. And of course, thank you for your time. Wherever you are in your life right now, you're exactly where you need to be. So, once again, thank you very much. Namaste.